Previously on Short and to the Point. I am also going to review everything in the second phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe this summer, with the exception of Captain America 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy because I already reviewed those films. Hi everybody. Yeah, I apologize for not reviewing those films. I'm working on it. Just please keep being patient with me and thank you. I was also working on Under the Dome this summer, so that caused a few delays as well. That being said, it's been quite a ride with the Marvel Cinematic Universe's second phase, hasn't it? You would think that Age of Ultron will be the end of this phase, but we still have one more movie to go, and that movie is Ant-Man. Yeah, when I heard about Ant-Man, I wasn't sure what to think. Much like Guardians of the Galaxy, I had not read or seen anything involving the character beforehand, but when I saw the trailers for the film, my interest was piqued. Sure, the idea does sound silly, but then again, my favorite superhero is based on a spider, so who am I to judge? Plus, this movie is directed by fellow UNC at Chapel Hill alum, Peyton Reed, so I definitely had to see how this movie turned out. Welcome to Short and to the Point, where I review movies in 5 minutes or less, or your money back! So if I had to describe Ant-Man with one sentence, it would be that this film is every special effects team's fantasy. The shrinking effects are epic, and do a great job showing what the world would be like for somebody the size of an ant. From a child's bedroom being a war zone, to the flying ants being the equivalent of helicopters. A lot of comedy also generates from the shrinking effects, courtesy of our hero Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, not knowing how to properly use the Ant-Man suit, and putting the Crash in Crash Course as Hank Pym, played by Michael Douglas, attempts to teach him how to use it. Now the CGI for the ants is obvious, but I still give the film team their props for finding inventive ways to use the ants, and I liked how this movie used different species of ants for different tasks. Now, on the other hand, I will admit that sometimes the film went a little too overboard with the amount of visual gags they could get away with. The gags were still funny, yes, but sometimes they took me out of the movie. Our story finds Scott being released from jail after 3 years, and because he's an ex-con, he can't find a steady job. Now this wouldn't be too much of a problem if it wasn't for the fact that his ex-wife's fiancé, played by Bobby Cannavale, will not let Scott see his daughter because he is unable to pay child support, in addition to the whole ex-con thing. Scott's relationship with his daughter is adorable, by the way. Pressed for money, Scott learns from his old friend Louise, played by Michael Pena, about a burglary that they can pull off, and he accepts. However, upon the completion of the burglary, he discovers only the Ant-Man suit, and learns that Hank Pym set this all up to test his thievery skills. Hank wants Scott to steal the Yellow Jacket suit from his protege Darren Cross, played by Corey Stoll, to prevent him from mass-producing it and the shrinking technology. The rest of the film is pretty much just Scott trying to learn how to use the suit properly from Hank and his daughter Hope, played by Evangeline Lilly, in addition to preparing for the big heist. As such, there isn't a whole lot of action in this movie outside the climax, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The film is paced well enough that there aren't any real dull moments, and the action scenes we do get are fun and visually impressive. The quiet moments were also handled nicely, such as one scene where Scott tries to get Hope to understand why Hank is using him to operate the Ant-Man suit instead of her, even though she is better suited for the job. Sure, we've seen scenes like that thousands of times in the past, but the scene is written in such a way that I bought the explanation. The acting is also on point. The script did a good job drawing story potential from Scott being an ex-con, and Paul Rudd does a good job working with that material. Evangeline Lilly also serves this movie well as our leading lady, and Michael Douglas fits the part of a wise mentor figure with a sarcastic streak. As for Corey Stoll, I was kind of mixed on him. He looks the part of a corrupt businessman, and his first moment of villainy was surprisingly brutal. But after that, he becomes more unhinged as the film progresses and goes full-on large ham in the movie's climax, to mixed results. The film offers an explanation for his mental state, but the movie really doesn't seem certain if that was actually a valid excuse, making it seem like Darren's haminess was more of a product of Corey's portrayal of the character as opposed to the writing. The comedy relief from Louise and his partners, played by T.I. Harris and David Dastmalchian, was also something I was mixed on. Though to be fair, the characters don't overstay their welcome, and their comedy relief antics don't detract from the film. Also, Michael's delivery of a long-winded explanation that leads to the theft of the Ant-Man suit was one of the funniest moments in the film. So overall, I did like Ant-Man. Sure, it was smaller in scale compared to some of the other movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it was nice that we had a breather movie after Age of Ultron, and despite being smaller in scale, the movie was no less important. The story flowed well, with a good cast of characters, and plenty of action, comedy, and drama to keep one invested in the story. And of course, let's not forget about the shrinking effects. Like I said, sometimes the movie got a little too wrapped up in the novelty of the effects, but they were no less creative. Oh, and before I forget, the film also has one of the best "Why aren't we using the Avengers" lines in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm giving this movie 8 different species of ants out of a possible 10, and I do recommend it for a theatrical viewing. This has been short and to the point, and I review movies in 5 minutes or less, or your money back. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go reflect on the anthills I destroyed back when I was a kid. I used to be afraid of ants, but after seeing them bravely sacrificing their lives for the greater good, I've started to rethink things. I will see you all next time, and to all the ants out there, I salute you. Bye.